You think you know everything,
yeah.
right? And you've got this inflated ego. It's kind of the spectrum of expertise, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
You right when you first get in something, you think you know everything, and then you realize like, oh shoot, I don't know anything. And so it put me on that curve. I got humbled a little bit. We were joking around. It's a great story. It took me till week 8 of the season to realize that you needed scout cards to run
right.
to get the scout team lined up in a real defense. So
like just do something crazy, guys.
On today's episode of the Left Hash Call, we have a man who started his coaching career at the University of Incarnate Ward, built an explosive offense there. Also have one of his quarterbacks from that time, Lindsey Scott, here with us today. Right? And then took his talents to Texas State again, lighting up the score column down there. And now, college football playoff appearance a year ago, one of the most explosive offenses in all of college football, the offensive coordinator at Texas Tech University, Mack. What's going on, man?
Doing good. Appreciate you guys coming down and having me on the show.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. But I want to just get right into it. What has it been for you? Obviously, being at UIW and then at Texas Tech, we'll get into that. But what's this transition been like to Texas Tech right away? Obviously, a little bit different as far as the appearance and the visuals, but for you, what's it been like being here these last basically a year and a half now?
Yeah, it's been great. Obviously, the city of Lubbock's awesome to live in. The people are super nice here. Everywhere you go, you run into people who are diehard Red Raider fans, and they're they're all about it. So it's a great place to live. And then this work environment's awesome. We got great people in the building. Coach McGuire does an unbelievable job with the culture and making you feel like you're here for a day or two, and you feel like you're a part of the family and you've been here forever. So the environment's great. The people are great. And you do kind of pinch yourself every time you walk in this building. I think Coach Wood called it a football resort last year, and that's
what it feels like.
That's kind of stuck. So it's been awesome to be here. I think at the end of the day, whether whether I was coaching at UIW or Texas State or even Lehman High School, it was the first coaching job, teaching geometry and some freshman basketball, freshman hoops. But wherever you're at, wherever you're coaching, the football is the football. The football is the same. The kids are the same. They want to get coached hard. They want to have a good relationship with you.
Yeah.
But it's been special to be here, just because the timing was perfect. The right people are in place, and the support's as good as you can get here. So we're in the middle of a pretty special run.
Growing up as a coach's kid, specifically a college coach's kid, going and bouncing around. He was at North Texas and then Tulsa and then Pittsburgh. What was life like for you, and how did that kind of shape your perception of this game early?
Yeah, good question. Growing up as a coach's kid, I think that's really what fostered the love of the game for sure. I remember I've got pictures being like 4 or 5 years old. And I was like not missing a practice. And my dad was coaching in North Texas at the time. And the only green jersey my mom could find was a Keyshawn Johnson Jets jersey.
Oh, nice.
And number 19. And so I would go to practice and had to be in full gear. Like I had the plastic helmet, Keyshawn Johnson, plastic shoulder pads, and football pants. So even from that age, I couldn't get enough of it. I was at the facility with my dad, as much as I could. And you just see the impact that he has on, as you get older and you start to, be a little bit more aware, just having the guys over for Thanksgiving and all the stuff. And you just see the impact that he has and the relationships that he builds and just how cool of a profession it is. And so, I think being a coach's kid that just really fostered, my love for the game is, I always tell people I never wanted to be an astronaut or be a doctor or anything like that. Literally since I can remember, I've wanted to be a football coach. And so it's really cool to be able to be living out my dream.
I read somewhere that you would literally have playbooks drawn up in elementary school.
Yeah.
Is there any plays from that you're still running out here?
No deep choice in the playbook. I was pretty versatile back in the day. We'd have an
How would you categorize
we'd have an I formation playbook, and then I would work on a flex bone.
We're getting crazy.
Oh yeah, and this isn't like 7th grade. Actually, I got to take you back. My first coaching job was when I was in 8th grade. My brother was playing in the fifth grade, like, youth football league.
Was Cutter just dominating?
He won offensive lineman of the year that year in
go.
the league. So he was,
they do that?
He was good. 5th grade O lineman of the year. He was a stalwart at center, moving bodies. But I was actually the dads on the team were like, you probably know better than us. So I was the OC as an 8th grader for my brother's. My brother's 5th grade team. So we got creative with some of the stuff that season, obviously.
Awesome.
That is awesome. You were also the Pennsylvania Player of the Year. You threw 40. Let's just name off some stats. A lot of stats here. 45 touchdowns, state title, first team All State. There's probably like a million others that I'm probably missing though. But for you, thinking about being a player, obviously you end up going to UTEP. What was kind of that recruiting process like for you? I'm sure it's obviously changed a ton of how it works now. But what was your recruiting process like getting to UTEP?
Yeah, definitely.
Did you have to get back to Texas?
That was really because at the time, so my senior year, my dad actually he left to go take a job at Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of did the split family thing for my senior year. I was just in such a good spot in Pittsburgh and had a great program around great friends, all that stuff. And I had already moved to 3 high schools in 3 years. So my parents were like, yeah, we're not going to make you go 4 for 4. So we were split apart at that point. And so I wanted to get back closer to the family, wanted to get back closer to home. Pittsburgh, we were kind of like, off on that was kind of a random place to live, just kind of out on our own. So I wanted to get back to Texas. Definitely recruitment's changed. Definitely no NIL deals for me back in the day.
You didn't get a car?
No, nothing in the works there. But I was actually committed to Stephen F. Austin throughout like the early part of my senior year. That's where my dad played there. My mom went there. So came down to kind of did the camp circuit in Texas before my senior year, and ended up committing to Stephen F. Austin early senior year. And I really only got to UTEP because the O-line coach for the Steelers, Sean Kugler, his son played on our team, and he gets the head coaching job at UTEP, and he had watched me play literally almost every game, for 2 years straight. And as soon as he gets the job, he calls me and he was like, hey, I want you to be our quarterback. So I'd never been to El Paso, never seen the place, and committed right there on the spot, right on the spot. But knew I wanted to play Division I football, and so had a great opportunity. And then to make it even better, he ended up hiring my dad as the O-line coach. So for those 4 years that I was at UTEP, we all got to be together.
Do you feel like playing the position has shaped a lot of your just the way you are in the room with the quarterbacks? Like, and Lindsey can probably speak to this as well. Is like I feel like every quarterback I talk to raves about the freedom you give them and the trust and the development. Like, do you feel like playing the position has shaped so much of how you call plays and how you design an offense? Yeah,
I think so. I think to me it's the most important position on the offense, and I think having that viewpoint of having played the position and not quite as high level as Lindsey played it, but having played it, knowing what they're going through, I think even just from like an emotional standpoint, coaching the quarterbacks and having the awareness of what the pressures are like and what you go through on a day-to-day basis and trying to learn the offense and going through all those struggles and and being able to now kind of be on the other side of all of that, I think helps coach those guys for sure. And you can probably
how was like playing for him so impactful for you that you wanted to coach with him?
Yeah, so that to be honest with you, it's part of the reason why I got into coaching.
Yeah.
Because I bounced around to many different colleges, and
Lindsey was the original transfer portal guy.
I was
rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
So wait, was it Nichols?
So we got
okay. Let's go for it. Yeah.
2016 signed to LSU.
Yep.
And after a year and a half, went to EMCC for a semester.
Okay.
Left there, went to Missouri for a year and a half. Then went to Nichols.
Yeah.
Finally got my bachelor's. Then I had one more year left. And that's when I ended up at UIW.
Dude, what a crazy journey. And then you end up did you end up winning Walter Payton Player of the Year that year? Unreal.
Yeah, it was a crazy season.
Magical season.
72 touchdowns.
Oh my God.
I'll never forget watching the Sacramento State game when you had 1,000 yards of offense and 100 touchdowns.
That was a fun one. That was a fun one. Gotta love winning a shootout on the road in the playoffs.
Well, like, what was that? I mean, you would experience so many different types of
Yeah.
quarterback coaches. What was different about this guy? For
It
you?
was the first time that, I had Mack and I also had GJ. But it was the first time that I had, an OC that played the position,
Yep.
that knew it was like not just, being behind the center, but the emotional and the psychological, like, taxing throughout the week. And it was the first time, like, I felt truly trusted at the quarterback position.
That's
Like,
really cool.
I would go out on the field and not be worried about making a mistake, because I knew
That's an
we would get to
amazing
the next
feeling.
play, so
Amazing.
out of all the years in college, that was the most fun I had. And when I left, and went to the UFL for that season in the spring, and I was like, I want to be back around these guys.
Yeah. That's
like, and then I ended up at Texas State, and it got to the point where it's like, I want to be, somebody's Mac in their life down the road. That makes them view football differently.
That's such a sick thing to say. Yeah. Like, that must be really gratifying.
Cool. That's cool to hear.
That's unbelievable. Have you heard that before? I mean,
not like kind of, but not exactly. Yeah.
That's a really I feel like every coach aspires to that. Like, to hear a player say, "You impacted my life to the point that I want to go impact other people's lives." Like, that's what a coaching tree is. I feel like ultimately.
When right after UTEP, you went to Lehman High School.
Layman.
Layman, sorry.
My
apologies.
It's all right. We got some weird. We got some weird high school names.
You get even further. Well, I went to Oskaloosa. It's like a bunch of
I have no chance.
I wouldn't have gotten that
native
right.
tribes up there.
No
yeah,
chance.
it's but Lehman High School. Read somewhere that you taught 4 geometry classes a day, and then were one of the youngest offensive coordinators in Texas. What was that? Or at least in high school football, obviously. What was that first experience like calling plays? 'Cause I remember we were talking yesterday, and you're like,
it was great. It was exactly what I needed at that time. It was we struggled a ton. Like, Lehman traditionally is not a powerhouse by any means, and we were at that time we were 6A in the district with Lake Travis, Austin Westlake. Austin Vandergrift, so we're playing some like really good programs, really high level coaches and players. We're playing Lake Travis, and they throw first play of the game. They throw a smoke screen to Garrett Wilson. He breaks about 11 tackles. I think he makes every player on the defense miss and scores. Man, it's gonna be a long day.
A long day.
But it was good, because you get done with college, and as a player, I feel like. You think you know everything, right? And you've got this inflated ego. It's kind of the spectrum of expertise, I think is what it's called. Yeah. When you first get in something, you think you know everything, and then you realize, like, oh shoot, I don't know anything. And so it put me on that curve. I got humbled a little bit. We were joking around. It's a great story. It took me till week 8 of the season to realize that you needed scout cards to run to get the scout team lined up in a real defense. So
like, just do something crazy, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So made a lot of mistakes. Learned a ton that year. Learned a lot of basically like, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing. I need to go get under somebody that does know what they're doing, knows offensive football, knows how to run a practice, run a program, how to install an offense, all those things. But had a ton of fun, had great kids there, had a great coaching staff, guys that I'm still really close with. Got to coach freshman basketball, which was like the most fun ever. I didn't play basketball till I quit playing basketball in 8th grade. And we get done with our Friday night, like last game of the season, Friday night. Saturday morning, I'm in the gym. Hadn't been to one practice. And we're coaching freshman basketball. I'm out there we're going full court press. I'm into it. Our practices were that was my conditioning for the day. We'd play 3-on-3 basketball, and I'd hop in there.
You're just scooping it up.
Yeah, exactly. So had a ton of fun. But ended up leading the head coach at Lehman. He ended up getting the running backs coaching job at UIW when Eric Morse became the head coach. They had a GA spot open. It didn't pay anything, but luckily I was still single and could live off of macaroni and Kraft mac and cheese.
Right.
$1 boxes. Jumped at that opportunity, and that was probably the just the best place that I could be. Because I ended up getting to be in the quarterback room with Coach Morris and really learn what it looks like to have a system to attack defenses and just be under a really good offensive mind. So really blessed to go from Lehman to transition into being at the perfect spot.
Well, it's crazy to see the evolution of the offense. It's like you get your high school OC opportunity, and I bet that offense looks a lot different than what you got going.
Yeah,
now.
we were still going fast, and trying. I was running deep choice, trying to figure it out, basically just on the fly, with myself. It's a funny story. Basically, I got kind of enamored with the offense back at Baylor. We're playing Rice. This is in 2015. I'm getting ready to start. I was a starting quarterback at the time at UTEP. We're getting ready to play Rice, and I'm doing my prep throughout the week, watching the previous games. And we were a under center, 21 personnel, like handoff power. Our head coach is an O-line guy, you're gonna we're going downhill.
No
and
doubt.
and we were okay on offense. We'd work pretty hard to score 24 points a game, and snap the ball with 2 seconds left on the play clock, and hope you win it at the end type of deal.
Out of it.
Exactly. And so and then I'm watching this Rice versus Baylor game, and Baylor is just throwing bombs, and then they're running spread. Guys you're way wide out there. There's nobody in the box. They're running dive, 10 yards of carry. And they had really good players back then too. Probably in defense of Rice, probably a lot better than those guys at the time.
Fair enough.
But I was watching this game and I was like, man, this seems so. It feels like they're running 5 plays and they're just marching up and down the field. Like it's like 45-0 at halftime. And so, at that point, I was like, man, this is, there's a better way to play offensive football, than what I know. And so ended up, getting connected to some people and studying the system. So that first offense at Lehman, actually a lot of the roots of that offense are still,
amazing.
In play here.
Yeah.
A lot better detail of the coaching and some of the actual, logistics of things and how I teach it is maybe a little bit better than then. But
what's so funny is like, I obviously just worked on the Bill Walsh project, and he went to 3 high schools in 3 years. He also started off as a high school coach, and a lot of the West Coast system was like him tinkering around at Washington High School in the Bay Area. And so I do think that's such a valuable experience, even though, you probably look back on that experience and cringe a little bit. You're like, I didn't even have scout cards. But like the freedom and the exploration, the curiosity is all like packaged in there. And now you're just doing it on a bigger scale.
Yeah, I think it was great for me looking back. And even my first time as a collegiate play caller, being at UIW, where it's really good football, but it's not quite on the main stage, national attention, where you can play around a little bit and you can experiment with things and you can make some mistakes and you're not just getting grilled for it. I think having that opportunity early in your career is great.
How much did he shape the offense? Because was that your first year calling it? Was with you?
Was with Lindsey, yeah.
So it was almost like a collaboration.
For sure, and I think obviously think really highly of Lindsey. That's why we hired him here, and he's still I enjoy getting to work with him every day. But he's a super smart. He was a super smart player, very cerebral. So really in a lot of ways, like he would work with us, on what we were putting in, and really valued his feedback on some of that stuff, because really a lot of the concepts we were kind of running and experimenting with the first time, doing some of that stuff, some of the wide splits and some of the different variations of choice. It was me and GJ's first time running that stuff, and coaching it. And so there was a lot of back and forth between him and us, and kind of playing around that spring with what the offense needed to look like. And I think at the end of the day, every year, because this will be my 5th year calling plays, and it'll be my 5th starting quarterback. And so every year your offense looks a little bit different, because you do have to tailor it to your quarterback. I think first and foremost, because that's any good offense has enough flexibility to be able to use the skill sets of your players. And so we definitely we did some cool quarterback run game stuff with Lindsey that maybe hasn't shown up in the last couple of years, because we didn't have those guys at quarterback. And so there's different things each year, kind of things that the quarterback sees well or that he really likes that you add in. So he had a lot of say and a lot of input on that early version of the offense and what he did well. And like we called a lot of outside choice that year.
Oh yeah,
it was about we were completing about 75% of our passes. I could call outside choice, and it was going to be a first down probably.
It's like, I feel good about this.
Yes, this one's probably going to work. And if it wasn't there, he'd take off and scramble and go get some yards. So
no doubt.
So there's a lot of that for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy too. Watching you guys at UIW, like so much success so quickly, and then all of a sudden it's like, bam, Texas State. New opportunity, like I feel like a similar build. What was it like those couple years at Texas State, like refining the system, taking the jump up in obviously level of competition and everything? What was that like for you guys as you kind of transition from QB coach relationship to coaching together? What was it like for you guys to do that?
Yeah, I think it was pretty seamless. Like the good thing is we took almost that whole offensive staff from UIW to Texas State.
That's huge.
And so the familiarity there, bringing Lindsey on the staff, a guy who played in the system, I think that's really valuable in the quarterback room, because he's been out there, he's taken the snaps and ran those plays, and so he can really communicate to those quarterbacks at a high level, what you should really be seeing, the timing, what the feel should be on each play. So I think it was a pretty smooth transition. We had a long way to go when we first got to Texas State. We had to completely turn around the roster and flip the offense. And we did a pretty good job in that first year, kind of building some momentum in a year or two, and then you really saw the evolution of the system, I think, and the some of the things that we struggle with some of the consistencies and finding some answers, because I think as we stepped up, it was like, you really had to game plan and attack each week with the same way. Not that at the FCS you have weeks off, but that year at UIW we were so much more talented than a lot of the teams we played.
Fair enough.
You had some weeks where we could have gone out there and it probably didn't matter what we ran. We were gonna put up points. And so just the step up in the level of competition and the how you're putting together a game plan consistently every week. I feel like we grew a lot from year one to year two there. So I don't know if
the biggest thing is that for me, I was just coming off of playing not too long ago.
Right.
So not playing not too long ago, but also like kind of truly starting my coaching career.
Totally.
So, being in the system, not less than a year and a half. The biggest thing was just trying to be a aid to the quarterbacks. What was my thought process of how you prepare for games, creating, cut-ups or materials for them that they can use, and you get the game day and it becomes, just automatic for them. So I think that was when I really started learning, I think when you're from a quarterback's perspective, compared to a coach, the level of detail is a little bit higher. It's still high at the quarterback position, but
no doubt.
I started seeing the things like, how he would game plan, the collaborative ideas, sitting in on offensive staff meetings, and that's when I realized that, we had to take it to the next level for me personally. So just that year was really fun because I was in the kind of mix where I still had like a player mindset, but at the same time, I started to evolve as a coach and actually see, the things I need to get better at.
Yeah.
He was a pretty locked down scout team corner.
I was gonna say,
He would hop out there and play. When we needed a DB in practice, he'd go shut it down.
You guys were doing it all. You were playing scout team. GJ was playing some scout.
Yeah,
team
he was.
Quarterback.
He liked to hop out there. Anytime the other team had power read in the game plan, he was playing QB.
We're keeping it.
Oh yeah,
that's amazing. And then you guys get to come together to Texas Tech, but this is an interesting transition because UIW to Texas State, we bring the offensive staff, everybody's on the same page. Now it's you guys bringing an identity and a system and bringing other coaches into the fold and taking ideas from other coaches. That must have been an interesting journey as well, just like blending together these different philosophies that you guys had so much success with this style of offense, and now you're blending it into Red Raider culture.
Yeah, it's been a fun challenge for sure. I think last year coming in and teaching an offense to a whole staff and really being the only guy, because Lindsey you didn't come for a couple weeks, so I was here kind of teaching the offense by myself in those first couple weeks on the job, and it's a little bit of a challenge, and you figure out how detailed you have to be and the level of communication that you have to get the vision that you want. And then also cool being around, new ideas, guys that have been in different systems and coached in different systems and taking their ideas and, being very aware of what you're putting in and how it fits into the offense and, how much our players can handle and making sure it still is not just a hodgepodge of, a bunch of different ideas. You still have an identity. So going through that process was really rewarding, really fun. And then now too, this year having the whole offensive staff back, it's just so much easier. It's just everybody's on. what are we doing? Ball security, are we doing day 1 or day 2? And everybody's on, they know exactly what drills they're doing, right? Hey, screen drill, we know we're relying, just all the little things that you take for granted that you don't think about, and all the logistics of a practice. Or, I can put in a play, we can install 1-word tempo, and it's like, hey, you guys want to put this in today? And everybody knows exactly, what they need to be teaching and coaching. And so it's nice to be on the same page.
One of the phrases I've heard a lot around the offensive staff room that's been really interesting is you guys will use the phrase same. Can you talk about like what that means for coaches listening? Like, what does same mean when you guys are trying to communicate concepts and different things like that?
Yeah, just like basically, we're saying the same thing, but basically a different, maybe just saying it a little different ways, right? The verbiage, or we've got, a play that we're window dressing that week, as a different play, but it's the same as the play that we've been running for the last, 3 weeks of spring football. Just a lot of trying to have a lot of carryover and just making sure we're on the same page with everything.
And then this past year, it's got to feel like nuts to like be at Texas State, and then the next year at Tech, and make it all the way to the college football playoffs. I saw someone that you joked the summer before that season. You're like, oh, maybe we'll go play Oregon because your brother obviously was there. If you could just put into words like what that entire season meant to be able to get your first Power 4 job and then go and make it all the way there. Obviously, there's a bunch of unhappy people at the end of the year, one winner, but what was that entire? I'm sure it was a whirlwind.
Yeah, I think it's one of those deals. You look back on the year and we had a lot of really cool moments. It was a special team, a really close knit team, really close knit staff, and so I think the relationships and being able to share some of those super high highs with those guys was really a cool season. And getting to be a part of the it's rare. You get to be a part of the first somewhere, and so and I've been really fortunate the last couple of years. We at UIW, we were the first. I was part of the first team to make the FCS playoffs there. First team to win a playoff game. Yeah. Texas State, first team to go to a bowl game at Texas State. First Big 12 championship at Texas Tech. So been really fortunate to be a part of some really cool seasons and a lot of firsts. Last year definitely being one of them. It's that you end the year on a terrible note, especially offensively, but I think that drives your off season. I think that's one of those things that I know for me and everybody that's coming back off of that team, coaching staff and players, that's just put a chip on our preparation this season. So knowing what we did last year was good, but not good enough. And at the end of the day, there's only gonna be one team that was good enough, that's happy, but doing everything in our power to make sure that we are attacking the weaknesses that showed up, and whether that be scheme, personnel, technique, the whole thing, just really taking a deep look at everything that you're doing and how you can be better and how you can, gain that edge. Because that's, when you play those good teams like that, you've got to be very dialed in, and you've got to have all your T's crossed and your I's dotted, and, have answers for things. And so, as much as that was hard to go through, and man, it stings, and it's not fun in any regard. You hope that it makes you better in the long run. Prepares you for something down the road.
You talk about this will be a fifth-year comp plays, fifth quarterback. We were at practice yesterday, chatted with him a little bit, but Sorsby, man, he's got some stuff. What's it been like working with him so far? All the talent's there, you can tell right away, but getting him nonetheless, but also just seeing him in person, seeing him in this offense, it feels like he's already very comfortable and very fluid and very. The decision making feels off the charts, but no, he's not very good. Right? But
no,
what's it been like working with him?
Yeah, it's been really good. It's been that's the hard thing about the transfer portal is. You can see on tape what kind of player he is. You can see, and we had crossover with Cincinnati throughout the season where, you're watching the tape and you're like, man, this kid can really play. What you don't really know and you don't find out until necessarily they get here, which we had a little bit of an advantage. So my dad was actually his O-line coach in high school at Lake Dallas.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, so once my dad got done coaching college, there at UTEP, they got let go in 2017. He's been at Lake Dallas High School for the last 8 or 9 years, I think. And so Sorsby's O-line coach in high school. And
wild.
so we had a little connection. So
Yeah.
I knew a little bit, more about him and how hard of a worker he was. And he was like, literally, he was like 5'4", 135 pounds as a freshman. And then, now he's 6'3", 239. You were talking about growing into your body.
Linebacker.
He was a late bloomer. But my dad, that is one thing my dad said is, he worked himself into the player that he is now. And so, you knew those things were, that was going to be there. But I've been really impressed as I've been around him in his processing, his ability to learn the offense, to communicate at a high level. I think he's really good in the locker room too. It was easy, and he worked for the buy-in. Like the work that he puts in and the time that he spends with those guys. He's a pretty easy guy to get along with, just from a personality standpoint, but does a good job from a leadership standpoint. So, all the intangible things that you don't necessarily know in the transfer portal have been even better than what you would hope for. So, and it's been fun too. He's another guy like those last year in college guys. This will be his third offense to be in college football. So he's seen a lot. He's played a lot of different concepts. He's seen a lot of defense, and so I think he's really good at being able to pull those experiences and apply it to some of the stuff that we're running now. And I think that accelerates his learning process.
It's funny hearing all those quarterbacks yesterday talk to each other, and hearing, I'm like, oh, talk to me about your guys' footwork or your drops. And one guy's like, I like the slide drop. Oh, I want a back pedal. Oh, I'm a true three. Like, it seems like you don't necessarily care as long as you're on time and accurate. Like, what's kind of the thought process there?
I give those guys a little bit of freedom to kind of play it how they're comfortable. Like on any given play. Outside of some of the choice stuff, that's pretty much, ball in the belly, Brady shuffle, what we call it, just a big one, and you're kind of, playing it out off the receiver's body language. But on some of the more true drop back stuff, some of those guys are comfortable in a three-step drop. Some of them are comfortable, just kind of playing that big one and feeling out the timing more that way and kind of always, building a base. And so, basically each play, like, hey, you can either three-step rhythm this or it's big one and hitch, or, you know what I mean? So you kind of give those guys options to play with whatever they're more comfortable with. I think to me, you just set parameters of, the timing of the ball and all those things and give them a couple options and let them kind of figure out, what style that they want to be in and what they're more comfortable. Because give them the tools needed from the footwork standpoint, and as long as the ball's coming out on time and it's accurate and where it needs to be when it needs to be there, I'm okay with those guys kind of experimenting a little bit and kind of finding what they're comfortable with.
One of my last questions for you here before we get you out of here: deep choice. What can you tell me?
It's a good play.
If
you're not a deep choice guy, then you probably should be.
No doubt.
I love that. The last thing I always like to end every show with, it's just a quick hit. It's just you can answer them as much or as little as you want to. But the first one is, what's your favorite football movie?
Ooh, favorite football movie.
Or objectively, what is the best?
Man, that's a tough one. Friday Night Lights probably is my favorite.
You
You grew up in Texas. That's got to be it. Yeah.
If your offense was a band or an artist,
Ooh.
who would it be?
I like these questions.
Huh?
I like these questions.
We've refined them over the years.
Yeah.
We were fine.
Band or an artist?
This is going to go on the soundtrack when we play like montage clips of all the practice highlights. It's going to be this band. So
I know. Give me some options. I need somebody.
He's
I
a
need
music
some.
guy.
Yeah, we gotta get lit.
I need somebody. I need somebody that's got some classic hits, but is kind of constantly evolving. That's kind of what I'm looking for there.
Okay, classic hits.
I feel like it's
The
also
first
one
song
of,
that came to mind was Freebird.
Oh,
Freebird.
like the guitar solo.
I like that.
Just imagine throwing a bomb as a guitar solo in the background.
That'd be a sick video montage.
Oh, we got to do it.
So slow. It's so slow, and you're like,
But then
it's
really
like it's
ramps.
the first time you're hearing it. You're like, all right, what's going on here? And then you're like, oh my god!
8 minutes in, your face is just.
Before you know it, it's
melting.
halftime and you're
That
up
is
40
awesome.
points.
Yeah, right.
One coach, past or present, that you'd love to sit down and talk ball with for an hour.
Past or present? Man, a couple. I think we were joking around about it in the quarterback room, but I think it'd be cool those run and shoot guys like June Jones, Mouse Davis. That would be awesome. I think Bill Walsh. I know you wrote the book on him, but just legendary coach. Yeah, there's a little
Product
little plug there. I think those would be guys that come to mind. Just innovators in the passing game, and highly successful head coaches as well.
Last question for you here. What's the best piece of advice that you would give to the next generation of coaches?
Man, just be where your feet are. Do the best job that you can. Where you're at, and just always be learning and growing. Always be trying to push the envelope on what how well you're communicating things and teaching things. But do the best job you can. Where you're at. Like if you would have told me 5 years ago when I was coaching quarterbacks at Incarnate Word that I was going to be sitting here as the offense coordinator at Texas Tech, I would have been like, you're out of your mind. Like I would have, there's no way. I don't even know if in my 10-year plan that I would have seen it happen as fast as it did. And so, but what I do on a day-to-day basis and the way that I attack my job really, is almost no different than what my mindset was when I was coaching quarterbacks at UIW. And so, be who you are, but do a great job where you're at, and God will put you in the right place and take you on whatever your journey is.